Hey there, it's Matt. I am but one man, one person, one mind. What is our culminative self? Perhaps it is the overall basis of who we are. There's a funny implication in society. Society, what does it mean? Well, maybe there's a point in how a group is a representation of a lot of people's opinions. And maybe there's a point in how some people will think differently than other people. I'm sure you can argue this is what creates the differences that we have. It is what creates the uniqueness, individualism in us. If not everyone agrees with a person, then the ones that don't agree with that person, either through their opinion or their actual self or so on, which, both have happened to me times for life, really, yeah. Then the point is that there are different opinions in the matter. Not one person is universally loved. Everyone deals with that truth at some point. And at this point, it's just known by all of us. Even though you could argue that some would take it less well than others. Sadly, some would perhaps even get extremely offended at not being universally loved. But even many that you think would get offended, that would be seen as kind of egotistical, kind of maddened by a lot of people. Maybe there's a point in how they'd actually just get it. I mean, they would get it. Maybe they would not always like the critique, but I think the point is that you have to be very deluded to think that everyone should love you. Especially if you have done things that have done harm to other people. I think even if someone is the most miraculous person to ever exist, I still think it's just normal that they wouldn't be universally loved. Of course, there are differences between not loving someone and attacking someone. I believe in free speech. The point is, words are words, actions are actions, of course. As a granted, as a given, really. I've been dealt a series of challenges. Implications have been concurrent in my mind many times. I've dealt with many things. A condition called schizophrenia, a condition called obsessive compulsive disorder. I've dealt with my problems, my struggles. I've limited the medication. I take a few meds. I take an antipsychotic and I take one more med beyond that, which I don't really know what it's for. If I've forgotten, frankly. It just hasn't mattered to me enough. I guess I should put it down. It's kind of sad. We're all different. All unique. Individual in their own way. Sure, some are kind of uninteresting, perhaps, with I don't like saying that, really. I mean, I think everyone has some merit in them, right? I'd say more so than anything, if you are uninteresting, well, at least presumably you're not bombastically terrible or a nuisance to others, which actually makes you a very certifiable citizen of this world. But notice how a lot of people could have said citizen of society. I think it's normal to say it. But what is society, really? Well, there's points to be made in how society is very simple this. Society is the expectation of, or the result, of how we are to be. And leaning off of the group's thought process can form your own in such a way that doesn't actually completely accurately convey how you'd feel otherwise. There's a thing to be said about how society grounds you then, therefore. A lot of people would say society sucks. Society, it sucks, it's a travesty that we are grouped like that, and society, it creates problems for people. I think if you really think about that, with me, what does it mean for society to suck? Well, I guess it would either mean that, or I guess it would mean that people are too easily influenced by a group mentality that would convince them, and therefore society influenced someone in that moment. So society therefore is a construct. It is how much is it actually anything more than that, though? What is society really? Well, you could say society is the implication of others. Your own self is your own self. It's what matters, really. I think it's kind of there's parents that will say the most beautiful things sometimes. My parents, they told me, they beyond adore me. I think my mom said she would, son. My mother said she would take a bullet for me practically. She really has said it. It's too sweet, I think, to be like that. But there's one thing to consider here, and I wish I could tell my mom this. I guess I'm younger than her, and I appreciate that she birds me, but I tell my mom that her life matters too much. And if I tell her my problems, I feel horrible. She died for me. I feel horrible about it. No, it's not supposed to be that. It's a shitty situation, I know. It's shitty to think about, It sucks. Yeah. I've thought that what matters most, really, should not be society, it should be the individual. But society can very easily summarize it as the group. The alignment of life in a certain way applies. In fact, I think that perhaps it is a massive point to consider how we are sometimes, for example, there's an irony in how the computer, the home computer, right? Personal computer. It wasn't really, it's not that it wasn't making the waves, it was making the waves. It's that people were obtuse, stupid about it at first. Because they thought, if the government could not figure out how to not have a computer be a data center, then what is the point of the computer? It won't even fit in the room. It won't even fit in a room. Well, frankly, it is a bit too dire, I think, to have thought that. But maybe the point is that there's some obtuse grandma that muttered it first, and she said it to her husband. Maybe her husband thought differently, but maybe agreed with the grandma regardless. The grandpa agreed with the grandma. And then it spread more and more, and some people would have wanted something different, and maybe some people managed to do it. They managed to break away from their clutches. In fact, I'm sure many did. And you form your individual opinion. What does that mean? Well, maybe it was a split. Maybe there were even more that thought the computer was feasible and realistic. So what does it mean? Well, it's kind of interesting how that could happen at all. Sure, you can blame it on this. Some people can be stupid, you know? You can blame it on that. Or maybe the point is, it is bound to happen. It doesn't make sense to define it in that way. And I'm trying to think of how it could make sense to say that. But the point is that we as society, we are not all the same. So what is society? What the fuck is society? That's what I'm trying to say. How could there be a construct that would have led us all to accepting the computer? Because technology is a blatant thing. It's everywhere. Over here, it's literally everywhere. Yet, a lot of people were not getting the computer. I've dealt with my spiritual experience. Certainly have. I can tell you this. Perhaps there's a point on it. Even though I felt sometimes all breeze from my imagination, but maybe that's part of the point. Perhaps there's a point in life being constructed. Meaning, there are expectations that are followed by others. I'm less into the idea than before. I should probably believe in it. Maybe a bit more, maybe the same, I don't know. But there are expectations of others that are followed. But who would want that? Who would really want that? Unless it's just people being people. People being stupid and gullible. Almost seems like, in a sense, it almost seems like it's the only answer. Maybe it was hard to believe. Who knows? Maybe if it is so alien of a concept, maybe it doesn't seem conceivable. Maybe as soon as the computer actually presented itself, the matter became different, which it did, I'm sure. As soon as it was shown that it could fit in the room, it became different. And that's the point. Things evolved. And everything started aligning. Regardless of what some people thought, things just moved that way. Regardless. Progress is, no matter how much we think that the world in general will collapse, the world in general will falter and fall to ground, the world will be bombed, blah, blah, blah. Which I really hope there are zero more bombs that are dropped ever, but you know. And, so what we live in. I think that it's incredible that we can just comprehend and understand that there is or maybe the point I'm trying to make is, what is individualism? Well, it is to separate yourself from those shackles. Evidently it is. And personally, as far as I go, I think that I have attempted to, in many ways, I form my own personal voice. I form my thought process in a certain kind of way, or at least my intuition, my aspirations, my talent, my expression. These are all things that I worked on. The world is, it's beautiful that progress happens. It's beautiful that progress happens. Progress is a quantifiable measure every time. Progress means that something has changed, something you can quantify for yourself. But in a sense, it's interesting how it's not necessarily always that way, though, when you really think about it. Maybe progress is inside of you. And yes, and schedules will show to you But let's say you'd say, there has been a massive change inside of me. The progress remains to be seen, despite the massive progress on your end. For other people, the progress remains to be seen. Who knows if you're just telling a little lie or a big lie, depending on how far it goes, I suppose. But the truth is, you should have the right to believe in yourself. It's just, it doesn't necessarily have to even show for anything. So there's no point in doubting someone over that. But it was just to say that earlier on in life, maybe I would have been the kind of guy, much younger me. I mean, let's say, 14-year-old me. Maybe I would have been the kind, or a 13, 14-year-old me, which is extremely like me, of course, compared to now. I would have been the kind of guy that would have lied about a few things. I did lie about a few things. Personal progress. There's an interesting thing about personal progress, really. It is really, for me, here's how I did it, okay? I convinced myself all along I did it this way. I like to think because at this point it feels like an incredibly natural occasion for me to be chilled out and be my own self, measured, and my own self, and comfortable and so on. But back then, here's how I explained it, okay? So I'd say that I am realizing that I'm not happy with myself. I'd say that for 2 years I've been a delusional train wreck to myself. So I attempted to solidify a better me by simply trying harder. I tried harder with myself. In certain ways I didn't, but in a certain way I felt like I had created myself. I'd recreated myself in a certain kind of way. That was back when I was 19 years old, I believe. Or at least, it's not at 19 years old I just started feeling the effects of it, really. Something to be sad about how that was, to me, it was regardless of society. Even though there's a little thing that troubles me with that, it is the overwhelming truth in my mind at that point. Because no one was ever encouraging that out of me, per se. I mean, there were clear hints here and there. And the point is that I really, I grew fond of, over time, I grew fond of my casual ways instead of my manic mistakes and so on. I grew fond of my casual ways. My laid back vibe pleased me greatly. So I wanted to be more like that. My clever ways, my intelligent ways, I wanted to be more like that. So I started really wanting to believe in it and to be like that. And nowadays I feel like the most natural guy. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, there's no thought in my mind ever that contemplates. I speak often so much more harshly than I actually think. It can scare me a bit, the disconnect, because I feel like the most chill and mellow guy ever. I'm just riding the wave of life right now. It's been that way for quite a time at this point, I guess. But really, it's lately that it started really solidifying itself. I noticed, I listened to some of my music. I noticed how the earlier songs were not as good as the later songs, certainly. And that's bit to see. I noticed. I know how there is there's an important truth to be known here. More than anything, there is a single truth to be known, and it is that there's a valid point, and despite the respect which we all should exercise for others, okay, we should exercise enough respect for others to not hurt others physically, to not gaslight others, and so on. Life is a individual affair. Okay? People that can't stop and just focus on themselves, people that always have to garner other people's attention, either for praise or compliments, or simply to feed off of them somehow, or to, maybe it can be innocent, perhaps, just a casual conversation, but people that can't stop and just focus on their own selves, forget introversion or extroversion, okay? People that can't be happy with themselves without having to rely on other people's compliments, That is a problem. People that create artistry and don't know for themselves, which I used to kind of be like that, okay? I mean, at least, in a certain way. But then I completely stopped being like that. I started being an extremely independent and unique artist, creative with the music. I really have been proud of myself for some of what I've written lately. And the point is that I did it for myself. I love the way I wrote the songs. I love the songwriting. There's a point in how society should not be a benefactor. But beyond that, there's a point in how society, as a concept, it's a bit, maybe it is troubling after all. Yeah. Maybe it is troubling after all, the concept of society, I think. Because what does it mean, really? What does it really mean? How should society have a say? I understand that people have differences. I understand that in communities, things will be different than in other communities in certain ways. Sometimes, ultimately, it amounts to arbitrary things, if you ask me. I mean, maybe this is not so arbitrary. Language is not so arbitrary. Language is a potent difference. The weather is not arbitrary. The weather is not arbitrary at all. Because Canada has snow, not every place really has that. Not every place has that. Okay, there's some places that are too hot. I strongly believe. It must simply be. But here in Canada we have snow. Beyond that, it's starting to seem like you've got two different communities, okay, across the world, right? In the two communities, people are mostly minding their business and taking their walk. In the two communities, the people are either treating each other with respect in that process, or someone is attacking someone else. In the two communities, there will be plenty of people that will think different things, that will see the world differently. Okay? But because culture is a phenomenon, right? Well, culture is artistry, you can say that. I mean, the way we create artistry is different. I mean, in India, not to single out every creative in India, evidently, but in India, the music, you can say much of the music would be different than around these parts of the world. So I listened to a few Indian songs on my Spotify, at least one of them. I checked out a playlist, it sounded like an interesting song. But it's not like everyone's going to be Bollywood. It's not like everyone's going to be that kind of music. What I mean is not like every person in India. I mean, for example, Anshul, my friend from India, he listens to Tame Impala. He listens to some artists I listen to, you know? I mean, it's really just that normal. It's that normal. So culture, society, they're interesting terms to me. Because they signify that as people, we are perhaps not as individuals as we should be. Instead, we are taking in other people's perspectives, and we are taking our surroundings and we're letting it shape who we are. Maybe the point is, if we were truly the most rational of people, and if we didn't go through the 2,000 years, if we awaken with a modernized mindset, or however many years of humanity, if we awaken with a modernized mindset, maybe there's a point in how the world would be more uniform in a certain way, yet less in another. And what I mean by that is, well, maybe culture wouldn't be as existent at that point. Because, well, these recipes, these interesting recipes, and so on, I find it interesting that they're based on the fabric of these societal differences, the differences of where you are. Okay? Because if it's good food, well, maybe the point is that there are restaurants, there are restaurants for every culture. There's restaurants for every culture out there. So the point is we're all celebrating each other's cultures, right? So we are being like each other. You can say this bird is here, right? This bird is here, and this bird is here, and this bird is here, blah, blah, blah. So that is the culture, therefore. But these distinctions that create these differences, to me, they kind of undermine our individualism as people lately. It's kind of a bit of a sad thing, I guess, more than anything. I notice how you can get really introspective in life. Certainly, you absolutely can get very introspective in life. I wonder how many words, though, summarize the introspective element of living. Or rather, plain so, I mean. What I mean is, well, okay. Introspection is self-discovery. Self-discovery. The inside you, who are you really? Who are you really? What is a diagnosis? Okay. Can you be diagnosed as extremely empathetic? Is there more than extreme empathetic? So, I mean, there's sociopath, psychopath, narcissist, right? There is empathetic, I guess, kind, sweet, but those amount to the same thing. What I'm trying to say is, the diagnosis is monetarily linked to the disorder more than the person. Where is the encouragement? Everything is negative in that sense, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of sad. You can say you are happy, elated, ecstatic. But what I'm trying to say is, you can say it, but there's a nuance, a depth in emotion, in happiness. There's a nuance in ecstasy that is only felt, not spoken, in terms of its detail and its actual depth in its feeling. You cannot really speak it. What makes this song truly brilliant? Oh, I adore it. But what makes the song brilliant? Well, then maybe I can go into theory if I knew it, which I don't. But maybe if I knew it, hypothetically, I could go into theory and tell you why. It just sounds harmonic and brilliant to me, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The point is, maybe there is such an immaculate depth and feeling in the music that resonates in you so significantly that it makes you emotional, and all you can say is that it made you emotional. Because maybe it is sad or it is inspirational. But the truest of the feeling cannot be accurately expressed other than through semantics that skirt around it. There is no actually conveying the feeling, and someone else is like, I get exactly how he felt. I felt that way too. You can say, I felt ecstatic too. I felt sad too. But you don't know how that person actually felt. And in all of that depth and detail, you know what I noticed? There's words online, okay? A lot of words online playing to the how you are seen thing, okay? I watch this Spotify, this video on Spotify, okay? This man is being interviewed for being a psychopath. That's what the video was about. He blatantly admits at the start of the video. He says, I am a psychopath. And I want to talk about it because whatever. He says yes, healed, and he doesn't want the condition to be stigmatized and so on. I'm just going to finish up, but anyways, he says he doesn't want the condition to be stigmatized. And the point is that these feelings, okay? These feelings that I feel are very intense and expressive. I forgot what I wanted to say because my memory is kind of, it depends. It depends on the minute, let's say that. I'm always appreciative for my life and being lived. And maybe there's a point to me though. It really is that. I don't think there's anything but a grave matter. It's just I can't let it envelope me with hatred or dismay. Then it's just gonna burn me down. It's not gonna be meaningful. It's not gonna matter. I mean, it gets translated to my mouth in other means. It is ultimately the truth about it. I just don't feel like it's a good idea. You know what? I think it's kind of a sad society. If I'm being real about it, I'm gonna end it with that. I'm not gonna be super sweet the whole video about it. Really, for a word to imply that you at all, other than a sad word, let's say that, like a word that normalizes the matter of formally presenting yourself to appease others. I know it's a thing. I get it. It's very much a thing in this world. It's a big thing. I'm just saying, I think it's kind of sad that it's like that in a certain way. Not saying that we should all be naked outside or something like that. We should wear clothes, but we should wear the clothes we want. Like, why couldn't someone go to a restaurant with shorts on, with gym pants on? Who are you hurting? They're just clothing. But my mom would ask me, wear jeans. There's a very light stain on the side of my shirt or something. She'll put on a new shirt, or something like that. It's just to say, all in all, I guess it's just a video about a few things, it's good to be thinking. It's good to be reasoning, at least. It's good to be yourself. So please be yourself. Don't worry about it so much. Don't worry about what others think. Society is a construct. It is a fabrication. I can tell you this, sir. I'm proud to want to see this, at least on this planet, based on everything I've been presented. I've always been a hopeful guy lately. But I should think it at least for this reason. My hallucinatory experience always tells me that the society that I live in is conspiring against me. The people in their cognitive element, meaning all of their minds are combining and their will and their intentions. Not said that they're all one person. It's just it all culminates into me. It all formulates, and the point is that it can be a very bad thing. It's been a very bad thing, certainly. I said in the previous video, they can take away my memories. They can take away my memories at any time. My memory is improving. I believe it is true to myself. They can take away my memories. Anyways, all that said, though, it doesn't matter to me really what others think of me. It's really fine by me. People can think whatever they want. There was a time I was more sensitive about it. I've stopped being sensitive about it. Yeah, it's fine. It's cool that we have God in the computer. It's cool we've got on the phone. It's cool things are progressing technologically very nicely. Perhaps things are heading in a dark path in a certain way, but I'll admit it, man. Maybe Star Fox, since maybe the games I've played are because I played Star Fox 2026. I have the Switch too. I was just looking at other stuff. Maybe it makes me think that it's a really fun thing to play games. It's a really fun thing to enjoy yourself with what has appeared and what has ended up appearing in our lives and what has been developed and produced and created into what it is today, designed and so on. So I guess all that said, yeah, there's problems with the world, but really, I'm happy with myself despite my problems, and I don't think that letting others guide you in any way that is defeatist upon your own self or misguided upon your own self is a good idea, but regardless, you should always consider things yourself, the most out of anyone. Now, not to say that you know everything, not everyone knows everything, but there's a point in being able to do it yourself if you've learned it. It should not just be memory, it should be logic, intuition. But I know it's not that easy. For me in middle school and high school, it's not that easy. I faltered in a lot of my schoolwork, So yeah, thanks and take care.